Did you know that what you eat may be directly connected to your mood? Did you also know that narcissistic abuse can also determine your mood, especially as a child? It can determine your emotional patterns. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about how food is connected to mood and how mood is connected to narcissistic abuse and how all three of those things are interconnected. And then I'm going to talk about what I can do to help you with those connections, what you can do to help yourself. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, a holistic nutritional chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind. And I help wounded ACONs, adult children of narcissists, to become healed icons. And an icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. I do this in my Iconic Me therapeutic coaching program. It's my one-on-one program. I also do this on my YouTube channel right here. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. I have hundreds of videos for you to choose from to really learn about holistic solutions for healing the wounds of parental narcissistic abuse. You can even go to my website at meghaworth.com and learn about my online programs. I have an online course called Healing the 5 Primary Wounds of Parental Narcissistic Abuse, which is a great intro into this holistic way of looking at healing from parental narcissistic abuse, where I also include the human energy system, which I'm going to be talking more about in this video so that you understand how all of these things I'm talking about are connected, food and mood. Now, we know from science that there is this thing called the gut-brain axis. And so it is a direct line between the gut and the brain. And in some cases, they even refer to the gut, which is really your upper intestinal tract. That is where you absorb nutrients into the body if the body's working properly. But you can also be absorbing a tremendous amount of toxins into the body through that upper intestinal tract. Through leaky gut syndrome, if you don't have the right combination of probiotics and prebiotics and these bacteria that you need in order to have a healthy gut. So there's so much going on between the gut and the brain. There's so much going on between those things because the brain is then directly connected to the central nervous system. Now, when I talk about the central nervous system and the work that I do, I talk about the human energy system because those things are one thing in my mind and in the work that I do. And so I talk about how our human energy system can get drained to the point that our biology can no longer run itself properly. So it sounds weird, right? But just stay with me for a moment. And I talk about how the thoughts, the feelings, and the beliefs will drain the system over time. And when you are raised by a narcissistic parent who's literally using emotions as a way to they weaponize those emotions against you, particularly shame, guilt, rage, anger, envy, and jealousy. Those are the main emotions that they really, really just hammer into you. And so those emotions are draining your experience. And then you've got your own emotional reaction to the way you're being treated. And then that also drains the experience. So it's almost like a double whammy that you're getting. And so on top of this, you get this programming. You're being programmed with these thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that are draining your system. So you feel drained. You feel emotionally drained. You feel energetically drained. And you also are probably sick. Like I was, over a dozen illnesses, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, mixed connective tissue disease, IBS, migraine headaches, depression. It went on and on, all of the different things that I had to deal with in getting well. So, and today I am symptom free. I don't have any of those illnesses anymore. Although I do have very specific ways that I work with myself to continue staying in this healed place. And one of the primary ways is with food. And I became a holistic chef. I worked with celebrities in Hollywood for about 14 years. And I helped them with diets, healing diets for specific health conditions, and also to stay thin and trim on camera and healthy. The name of my company was Delicious and Healthy. And that's what I helped people with. So I know a lot about this food connection. Now, food can really significantly affect the mood because you put the food in the body and the food is fuel and it fuels every cell of the body, right? It is something that is deeply tied into all these systems I'm talking about, the gut-brain axis, your metabolic system, which is your metabolism, and it's how you burn calories, how you these are complex systems, and I'm not a medical doctor, and I do know a fair amount about this, but my jam is really talking about jam. It's talking about food and how food can heal you, but food can also hurt you. It can literally kill you over time if you're eating the wrong foods. I used to say that on my podcast every single time I ended my podcast when I had my Get Well Soon podcast. Food can kill you or food can heal you, and the choice is up to you. Now, mood, we know, is dramatically affected by the food that we're putting into our bodies. Here in the US, we are dealing with tremendous amount of chemicals in our food supply. You're literally swallowing poison all day long, and it essentially just tear up your gut, and that will disrupt that gut-brain axis, which will disrupt your energy system, which will disrupt your brain. And if you're dealing with the wounds of narcissistic abuse, now you've got those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs on top of all of these issues that are interconnected with the food and the mood and how you're putting that in your body. There's a whole category of foods called anxiogenic foods. These are foods that can create anxiety in the body because of the reaction they have in the brain, from the gut to the brain. You see in the connection now? So you're consuming a food that has glyphosate in it, for instance. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, and it is a weed killer, and it is sprayed on conventional crops in the US, and some crops way more than others. Soy is a big one. People can get very seriously ill from soy. Gluten is a huge one because they use it as a desiccant. And so basically they take Roundup and they spray it on the wheat crops so that they can get the wheat to all ripen at the same time, so they can just harvest it all at once. Even though plants, they will ripen at different rates of speed, but they're trying to get it done and get it in. So they soak these crops with glyphosate. So when you think about, people are always asking me, why is there so many food allergies? Why are so many people allergic to gluten in the US? And I used to give them these long answers, and now I just say one word: poison. The wheat supply, the food supply is poisoned, and you're swallowing that poison and it's tearing up your gut. So I just went to Europe this past summer. I had a piece of bread in Paris. And by the way, I cannot eat bread in the US. And I had a piece of bread in London. And in both places, I had no reaction. And one of my primary reactions is I do get crying jags from eating bread here, or pasta, or any wheat product. I also will get anger surges. I'm somebody who's actually pretty calm, pretty gentle most of the time. And I'm not somebody who has road rage easily, but if I've had wheat, I can go into road rage. I can get angry. I can have anger surges, crying jags. So it dramatically affects my mood, and it could be doing the same thing for you. So because these foods can cause anxiety, they can cause depression. That's the other thing. I get super depressed and extremely tired. So the autoimmune symptom of chronic fatigue comes right up when I've had gluten. So it's really serious. And a lot of people are eating these foods all day long, sick all the time, and never getting well, because it's starting with the diet. It's starting with how the gut is being torn up. Now, the gut, in the work that I do also, that has to do with the second center of the human energy system in the abdominal part of the body, which is your inner child. That's the archetype that I use to describe that. It's your emotional body. It's emotional body. When I say body, it's an energetic body, and has to do with the emotional self, and it has to do with the inner child. So if you think about the inner child, the immune system are all right there in your gut, and your gut is being broken down by these poisons. And now your immune system is down and you're more vulnerable to all kinds of illnesses. So just think about that. And then if you were raised by a narcissistic parent, then you're looking at the inner child of the narcissistic parent who was programmed with all these beliefs of you're never going to get it right, you're not good enough, you're not lovable, you don't matter, you're not important. All those messages that came into that child's self are draining, can potentially be draining that second center. It can be draining any part of your body. Everybody manages their energy differently. They manage their abuse histories differently. So it's important to really understand all of these things and how they're interconnected. So the food you're eating, the chemicals that are in the food, they already know, like red dye number 3, for instance. I watched oh my gosh, I watched my goddaughter have some red dye number 3 in something when she was 3 years old. And she went into the biggest, horrifying, rageful moment. I mean, just couldn't stop screaming. And it was awful to watch. She was really suffering from that particular food dye. And so those kinds of dyes and food chemicals, MSG, which is an excitotoxin, it can make brain cells literally explode. That can also be creating issues, all kinds of issues. I get dizzy if I get MSG, dizzy and brain fog. Terrible, terrible. And it's in so many things under different chemical names as an ingredient. So eating real food is really the key to this. So eat real food, eat organic vegetables, organic meats and fish and organic fruits, focusing more on the vegetables and the meats. And I'm not against meat. We need protein and we have to load protein into our systems. We don't produce these proteins. We know all different types of proteins, and I'm also not going to tell you don't go vegan if that's where you are. You got it, you do you, but take into account these foods that can be really significantly impacting your mood. Dairy products are another one. Casein can have an action on the brain that is addictive, like an opiate. And same with gluten. So sugar, another big one. And I'm not saying don't have these things at all anymore. You might be able to handle them better than the next person. I'm saying is if you are sick, if you had a history of parental narcissistic abuse, if you're trying to work through that, looking at the food, what you put into your body is going to be a very important part of your healing process, because food, like all things, has an energetic component, and the higher energy that you use, the higher frequency, everything can be measured in sound waves, every single thing on earth, and the higher frequency of the food that you're putting into your body, the better it serves at the cellular level of the body. So I know I've been talking up a storm here, but I love to talk about food. I love to talk about mood and talking about things that you can do to help you elevate your mood by using food, but also by using therapeutic techniques like somatic psychotherapy can be very, very beneficial for helping you heal the emotions and how they get stuck in the field when they get stuck in the body. And then they can make you sick also over time. So you're looking at all of these things together. So handling these different areas of your life, looking at yourself as a holistic system, mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual, all those things are interconnected. Looking at all of those things as one thing, you. That's all you. And honoring the different parts of the system to help you heal is an incredibly empowering action on your part. Looking at your food, well, what am I taking in? Here's an exercise you can start doing right away. You can do a food journal where you look at, okay, I woke up at 8 a.m. this morning. I had a black coffee right away, coffee with cream. I had a stomach ache. So you start to write down the time and then the symptom. And so maybe you had a stomach ache. Maybe you got congested within a few minutes of eating something. And so you start to look at the patterns, and you do this for at least 3 days. 7 days is better. You start to look at the patterns of the symptoms going on in your body and what you just took in. And know that it can take 1 to 3 days for an allergic reaction to actually surface from something that you had. So, and I've had that happen so many times, like 3 days later, oh boy, I'm laid out with a migraine from something that I had that I didn't even know I got some sort of cross contamination. So, if you were narcissistically abused too, you may be super sensitive like I am. You may identify as a highly sensitive person, highly empathic and intuitive as well. And if all of those things are at play, and then you are also sensitive to the environment, to things in the food, but you can dial things in and get it to where you need it for you. But one of the best ways to do that is to really work with the emotional root cause of how this all got developed in the first place. I mean, if we have to say what came first, the chicken or the egg, the emotional experience that you have as a child, the way that you're treated, the way that emotions, the impact that that has on the physical body, and the way that continues to get worse over time, you can, in many cases, reverse chronic conditions by doing the work, by doing the inner work to help you release the wounds of parental narcissistic abuse, to raise your self-esteem, to find who you are, answering those big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? These are all important questions to answer. And this is what I help my clients do. And I help them to release the emotional buildup that is in the energy system. And I help them to release that energy from the field so that they can get well. And I get to watch this happen all the time. It's really empowering to watch and really powerful. So this information, I know maybe some brand new concepts that I've been throwing at you, or maybe you've never seen them put together in quite this way, but all of these things are interconnected. Your food, your mood, and your abuse history are all interconnected. Those emotions that were thrown at you and that emotional experience that you're today calling stress, those are emotionally draining experiences that you're continuing to have that aren't necessary to continue to have. So, woo. All right. If this information has been resonating with you, please like and subscribe. And also know that if you are interested in talking to me, I do holistic programs in my Iconic Me therapeutic coaching program. And if you're interested in maybe working with me or learning more about my work, please just book a free consultation with me to learn more about how I can help you heal on all these levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, and spiritually, because it's all one thing. I can also help you with the food piece, and also help you with eliminating foods that might be toxic to your system, looking at the patterns of the food that you're eating, and how it could be impacting you. And then also giving you suggestions of things that you can do, including some recipes, because I've written cookbooks and all of that. So, all right, I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I hope this information has been really helpful for you, and I hope it will help you get well now.